we've had a number of people come back from conferences and AI. I don't know if you guys have heard about it. It stands for artificial intelligence. There's this new product called Chat GPT. Um, so we're starting to get some of that content brought back, and where in the last couple of days, I've had to have conversations about setting pretty hard guardrails on what's acceptable and what's not acceptable to paste in there for prompts and usage, and the conversation is starting to revolve around student data, testing data, stuff like that, even if it's anonymized. So use case was ChatGPT 4 is super, super awesome. And you can post not student data, but like test scores in there. And I said, well, here's the thing. And Mark, I don't think I've talked to you about this. You're my kind of go-to policy person. No matter if it's anonymized or not, if you're posting that data into a large language model, and that model is learning from the content and the prompts that you are giving it, it is still taking that school-owned data, which is protected whether or not it's anonymized and should only be used for school benefit or school purpose. It is then learning from that content and that prompt to use in other instances. So my kind of guardrails in that statement is, anonymized or not, you really should not be putting student data or test scores, stuff like that, into a large language model to collate, give you trends, whatever, you name it. So we're having some difficulty kind of trying to figure out what's acceptable and not. Mark, what's your take on that?
I mean, you're 100% right that you do need to protect your data from being used in AI models, whether or not it's anonymized or not. The first thing I would say is, anonymizing data is way harder than it sounds. And so if you say take out student names and IDs and dates of birth and put everything up there, that's not anonymized. It's just a smaller data set. So even if you scrub it or change it, you do need to be careful with whether or not it's really anonymized or not.
And like someone else pointed out, if you are, Chat GPT 4 is currently a paid product. I think it's like $20 a month. The fact that you have a paid account that can be tied to you in your school and you're posting that data really isn't anonymous, right?
Yeah. And I think the next point is around, your data as a whole, your data as a sole subject or a collection of your data is still property of the district. And right. So it then comes down to what are your local policies or board rules that allow you to share confidential data with an outside entity. Now, FERPA is really about protecting the student record and the individual record, and probably wouldn't wade into that anyways. Also, it was written in 1970 and has had very, very few updates. So it's definitely not ready for AI. So I think it really comes down to what your local district policies are on data as a whole and whether or not that can be uploaded to a system like ChatGPT.
And what I came back to was our, kind of our boilerplate student data privacy agreement. There are statements in the DPA that say this data is only for school use, not for sale, right. Not to train something, not to, harvest data, whatever. And quite honestly, all of these generative AI tools right now, they're all learning from the prompt and the data that's being fed into them. So to me, that's kind of in direct conflict of what we have in our DPAs. So right now I'm going to keep pushing back on that for now. We'll see.